Hello, this is Victoria Pendragon. Welcome to another chapter in my alternate reality. In my alternate reality, I don't need glasses. But in this one I do. But too much light reflects off the surface. I'm going to start today another series that's of sort of sub-chapters, as I have done previously with a couple of things, because I want to talk about the way that part of me handled scleroderma. And I want to begin at the beginning, and the beginning is a long time before the scleroderma. I got scleroderma when I was about, I guess I was 44 when I got it. 44? I can't remember. It was 1988, I remember that. So 48, 46, 44. I can't subtract, I can't add. At any rate, I was 44 when I got it. But when I was 13, which was a tough time for me. At 13, I was, my father, with whom I had been incestuously involved, and I was involved in that. He involved me. It was a very deep, seriously disturbed relationship. And at 13, he dropped me like a hot potato, because at 13, I got my period like girls do. And of course, at that point, it became dangerous for him. So, and for me, I'm sure I figured into his equation, because he did love me in his way. And so, at 13, I was pretty stressed out. And it was the beginning of when I began feeling suicidal. One night, and night times at 13 had become rough for me, because what had happened previously in my relationship with my father was that we had, for all intents and purposes, a love affair. At 13, the love affair stopped, but occasionally he couldn't help himself and would just break into my bedroom and, for all intents and purposes, rape me. So bed was not a safe place, not a pleasant place anymore. So I sometimes went into a kind of a trance state, just as I used to when I had to leave my body earlier in my life for the stuff that went on with my grandfather. And on this one night, I had, in fact, drifted into a trance state. And all of a sudden, I knew, I didn't leave my body, nothing like that, but I knew instantly, I saw myself, I was older. I didn't know how older. When you're that young, you don't really have much of a concept of what age might be like. So I knew I was older, and I saw me, and I had a horrible disease. I knew I had a horrible disease. There was no cure for it, and it was awful. I could see it in my face that I was in horrible, horrible pain. And that was it. I woke up. I never quite forgot that, because it was very, very vivid. But I didn't actually remember it fully until probably almost a year into having the scleroderma, when I suddenly recalled that at 13 I had known that I was going to get a horrible disease for which there was no cure. I'm glad I didn't remember. It probably would have tainted my life. But it was certainly an interesting and interdimensional start, because I saw, at whatever level of my being one sees those things, I saw my own future. It's a thing that I imagine doesn't often happen, but apparently can. So knowing that, and knowing that it had happened, knowing that I had seen that, it affected my approach. Because in the first months of the scleroderma, I was just so overcome with pain and fear, awful fear, because the pain kept getting worse, and because ultimately, after some months, my body began tightening, turning in on itself. My fingers started going into a C shape. They're now in it's not a C shape. I don't know what this is, but it wasn't this bad when it started. And I was frightened. But what happened was this strange disconnect, eventually, between my waking state of fear and what was happening when I was dreaming. Not in a hypnagogic trance as I was when I got that vision when I was 13, but actually dreaming, because in my dream states, I was transported. In my dream states, I was doing amazing things, fabulous things, wonderful things. Nothing like I was experiencing when I was awake, when, again, as when I was 13, I wanted to kill myself. The only reason I didn't kill myself, honestly, in that first year of scleroderma was because I couldn't figure out a foolproof way to do it without possibly making myself worse. And I didn't want to be worse. I didn't want to be in a condition where I couldn't kill myself, or try to. So that was the only reason I was sort of still there. But the dreams, they were not troublesome, but so curious to me because they were so good. They were just so good. And one night, there was a thunderstorm, really big thunderstorm that moved in, lots of lightning, and I could barely move. If I weren't going to go out of camera range, I would show you how bent up I was. It was hard for me to walk. It was hard for me, really hard to do the stairs, and my bedroom was on the second floor. But I knew that that thunderstorm was there for me. At whatever level of consciousness, I knew I had to go out in that thunderstorm. Because, well, it didn't matter. If lightning hit me, my problems were over. I just knew I had to go out in the storm for whatever reason. And so I slowly, painfully got myself dressed as the storm was approaching and went down the stairs as I did, one step, next step, next step, next step, next step. It's the only way I could do it. And by the time I got outside, the storm was at the house in full force, raging, and the lightning was striking, it seemed, over the field that was across the street. And I just walked out into the rain, no protection, no umbrella. I did not care. I did not care. And I stood out there and looked at this lightning, and there was the most amazing formation I've ever seen of lightning that went full across the sky, across the street. It looked rather like an asterisk, so like a big star. And I just raised my hands up to the heaven, and I was like, take me if you want me. And it didn't. And so I hobbled back in the house and hobbled upstairs and felt really empowered, as though something had shifted. And the buzzer has buzzed. And so now I have to end this segment, but I will be right back recording in the next chapter.